I just like to start by saying that I was so excited because the piece that I've been saying over for many years, must have said it a few times, probably said in Shiur Gimel, that the first two the mitzvahs of Anochi and Lo Yiyeh were heard only by Knesset Israel with the cold, that because they really only heard cold vorim to the answer to Ramban's kasha, because the Ram the Shitasa and the Vuchim. I must say, mamish, the whole shtickle Torah I found in the Meshech Chochmah. Ulam in Meshech Chochmah in Shmos, Perek Chof Pasuk Beis. Ulam, he asked the kasha, the Ramban's kasha, what's going on? You know, they think Kilu, it's a less Barnag, different Kilu. Ulam Chalilu Rabbeinu, the Rambam, Shiyole Mimenu, Hamayim Ashoga Befim, Rak Rabbeinu Azlu Shitase, B'Sefer Amoirech, Chelik Beis, Perek Lamed Gimel, B'Bir Oroch, Muchrach Mikol Shitas Rabbeinu, Baratalmud Yisrael Shomu Rak Kol Dvorim, Kol Elokim. Okay, he says it's Kol Elokim. Bilvad, V'loi Pirtei Advorim. Upirish Anechi V'chulei. They heard the Shoshim Mitzias Hashem V'chulei, and he says, and V'chol Ma Shivod B'Moifis Mishmar Anovi. So L'cheira has nothing to do with the other mitzvahs, which are the first two dibros. V'chulei. The Imam says the shtick. Okay. Next. So everything I think I said last week, I think I stand by, and if I'm going to go over something now, it's a correction. Okay. Now, the main question which we have over here, in context of everything I was talking about, that it's Chol Be'etzmi Yisei Dinoi, there's Yisei De'atera, and there's the mitzvah from Noichi Lo Yiyeh, and this Hilchos Avodah Zarah, which is a different issue. It's not the Lo Yiyeh Elohim Achim Aponai. Now, the problem over here is the following. According to the Rambam, why should there be a chiyuv skila from Kabbalas Elohus? The chiyuv skila is for Oved Avodah Zarah. Whether it's Zavech Elohim Yechom, or it's from what we know in Parashat Shoftim, V'shavah Shemesh Reach, V'shtacham V'yubi V'shtachavisa, V'derashta V'chakalta, and then it says V'sakalta Ba'avodim. So you have either from Zavech Elohim Yechom, or you have from Parashat Shoftim. So l'chayr you need avodah. So where does Eliyato or Kabbalas Elohus, where does it all fit in? L'chayr, the Chamufush Mishnah, that Kabbalas Elohus is b'chlal the Isa Oved Avodah Zarah. So according to the Ramban, you have a broad definition that any Lo Yelohim Echima Aponai and all the same. So every Kabbalah, so anything is all the same. So everything is Chayiv Misa. But according to the Rambam, that there's no Chayiv Misa for Lo Yelohim Echima Aponai, and that's the Luchas Yisei Le'atera. And it's only, the only Chayiv Misa is only for the lav of lois tishtachve v'lehem, lois ovdeim. So how does Kabbalas Elohus fit into this frame of reference? So the Mishnah l'cheira is mefurish that Kabbalas Elohus in the and Oime Eliyato is b'chal Oved Avodah Zarah. The Mishnah Perek Zayin, Mishnah Vav and Hedges goes like this. Now I'm going to punctuate the Mishnah, even though we normally don't, but I think in this case, it's very important. The Mishnah goes like this. Ha'oived avodah zarah, and I would say colon. Ha'oived avodah zarah, colon. And these are the examples. Echad ha'oived, v'echad ha'zeveach, v'echad ha'mekater, v'echad ha'menaseach, v'echad ha'mishtachaveh. So you have l'chayr ha'oived is the derech avodah of the avodah zarah, zeveach the dalet avodas, zevicha, haktorah, nisuch, and hashtachavah. Then it says, v'echad ha'makablo olav Eloha, v'oim Eloi eliato. So, l'chayra, these two are also under the broad umbrella of Oived Avodah Zarah. So it's not that every Oived Avodah Zarah has within the Kabbalah Elohus, but there's a separate category, Kabbalah Elohus, and that's B'chal Oived Avodah Zarah. L'chayra, that's the Mishnah says. And not only that, the Rambam is foolish that that's the case in Sefer Mitzvos. If you open up Sefer Mitzvos, Mitzvos loisa sehei, in the middle of his discussion of Af Kol Kiyetzibal Hashem, Chayev Olav, Ben Shu Oivdei, Ben She'einu Oivdei, V'yin Advorim, he says, Elohim, Hashtachavo, Azvicha, V'kito, V'nisuch, Asher Bohem Nischayvu, L'avod Es Hashem Yisala, Kol Mish Ya'avod Avodah Zarah, V'achas Mem Chayev Skila V'chule. V'ein Koim Shalot Yadav. Okay, so he says, even Shalot Yadav. Then he says like this. Even She'ovad V'achas Mem Chayev Skila, Im Hoy Amazit, V'u B'kares, Im Hoy Loi Naida Alav, Oy Shaloi Nenash, V'shoyge Yaakov Kol Mechatas Kavur. Then he says in Mitzvah Hey is the Mitzvah Azor Shuhuzuru Milishtachavos Lavodah Zarah. The Ram says V'chein Im Kibul Olav Beloha Eze Dov Shekibul Olav Harei Chayev. So the Ram clearly says that Kabbalah Elohus is Chayev in the lav of Ishtachavot. So, a priori, da steht in the Mishnah that Kabbalah Elohus and Eliator are B'chal Oived Avodah Zarah. And the Rambam clearly says it in Sefer Mitzvos. But frankly, we have no clue of what this means. Because if you look at Mitzvah Hey is discussion of the Dalet Avodas. And there's no, what Avodah, what are we talking about here? And also, this is not only in Sefer Mitzvos, but it's also Mishnah Torah. Because Ram Mishnah Torah puts Kabbalah Elohus together with Oived Avodah Zarah. In Perek Gimel, Halacha Gimel and Dalet, V'azhor shel avodas elu, who creates behen, umashkos lois of them, avodah kedalka. V'avnevumim b'shar avodas, which is avodah kedalka. Chutz mishtachav v'zerech umaktir umenasech. Avol oive v'achas m'avodas elu mikol mini avodas zor chayev v'avapi she'ein derech avodas. V'chulei. I'm skipping now. That was Halacha Gimel. And then I'm going in the middle of Halacha Dalet towards the end. I'm a Kabbalah law of Echod Mikol Mini Avodah Zarah Ve'Eloha Chayiv Skila V'Afilu Igbia Leveino V'Yoma Lo Eliato V'Chein Kol Kriyetze B'Dibo Zeh Chayiv V'Afilu Chazor B'Techedei Dibo V'Yoma Ein Zeh Eli Ein Chazor So Klum El Niska. So a priori, you would say Kabbalah Salahus is an issue of Hilchos Deis, and it should have been you say that Torah, nothing to do with a Chiyuv Misa. But on the other hand, but there's no Chiyuv Misa in Hilchos Torah. But in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, since it's a Chiyuv Skila, you have to say Kabbalah Salahus is the lab of Avodah Zarah, and nothing to do with Lo Yelech Elohim Achim Apole. So according to the Rambam, they Lo Yelech Elohim Achim Apole do with Avodah Zarah, not the Ramban. So that is the first question. This L'cheira, you see, a priori, I should have discussed this in the Mitzvos Sehei, but I think this crystallizes the whole issue of this dichotomy, the difference between Hilchos Yisodei Torah and Hilchos Avodah Zarah. Or, as the Rambam puts it in Shorish Chi, the days of Lo Yeholim Chayim Aponai, and the Isser of Avodah Zarah, which is the Pu'ula. Second issue, even if you say that Eliator, he's an Ovid Avodah Zarah, whatever that means, okay? Let's say so. And that the Ashora is Mlosh Tachve. We're born the Shalom. If you look through Mitzvahs Sehei, you'll see that the Chiyuv of Oived Avodah Zarah in Avodas Pnim is only a limud that it's dumya to Zvicha, that it's Avodah Miyuchad Lashem. So how in the world, without a limud, there's no limud over here. How in the world are we malbe that this avodah called Eliato is chayim? First of all, I question that maybe it shouldn't be an avodah. And secondly, even if you accept that it's an avodah, you need a limud for it. How is it that you can be chayim without a limud? The Ram just says stop. That you chayiv for it. This is the problem. And I was wrestling with this a lot, but I think the problem is a reasonable issue. So, l'cheira, what you have to say. Number one, it's very clear, it's incontrovertible, that this Eliato and Kabbalas Elohus is b'chal olab, according to the Rambam, because he puts it in Loisei. And also the Mishnah says that it's an avodah, an avodah zarah, because he's koilo, the Mishnah is koilo. Hishtachavo, avodas knim, and Kabbalas Elohus on the Oived Avodah Zarah. But we have to understand that there's a difference over here and we don't understand, because you need a limud. And you call it, how does it come and what happens? Because there's no limud. If you look at the Rambam, in Mitzvahs say, hey, the necessity for the limud is because it's shaloi kedalka. If you're b'zeveach lemakulis, where the dalka from avodas is rikas even, and you do a zvicha of a behema lemakulis, so the chiddush in The limud is anything which is avoida for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yechayiv, even Shaloi Kedalka. So it's Zvicha, Haktorah, Nisuch, and Ishtachavo. I want to maintain that Eliator in Kabbalas Elohus is Choluk because it's not miyuchad. It's something which you oived HaKadosh Baruch Hu with. You say to the Rebbeinu Shalom Eliator, Elokai, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam. You're always saying it's Elokeinu. But as much as you're going to tell me, Takroivis Avodah Zorah, maybe Shloi Kedalka in certain Avodah Zorahs and Kedalka in others, okay? However, Eliator is Kedalka in Hashem and all Avodah Zorah. There's no doubt about it. You say to the Makulis, Eliator Rachmon Islam. There's no Shloi Kedalka over here. And since it's Kedalka by all Avodah Zorah, and it's Miyuchad Lashem, that's the way you're over HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so there's no need for limud. The whole limud is only for Ishtachavo and, it's for Zricha, Zvicha and Nisuch and Aktorah, because there might be Avodah Zorah, which is not Kedalka. But every Avodah Zorah is Eliator. There's no issue. Because it's certainly Kedalka. So in terms of why you don't need a limud, I think that's okay. But however, there's a different problem. Why would one call Eliator an Avodah? So I understand that Eliator in Kabbalas Elohus is the beginning of the derech for the Avodah Zorah. That the way you start with Avodah is first Eliator or Kabbalas Elohus, and then there's Avodah, whatever Avodah you do. And I also understand that whether you makabel the peso as a hashpor or koyach, or where you makabel it ki'ilu, whether there's such a thing, I'm not getting Ramban, that the peso was yoytes oilam, ches, I don't think it makes a difference. The question is, even though it's mistaber that Eliator is the prelude to Avodah Zorah, and you could also throw in the Rambam in Pirush Mishnayis, in Yisod HaChamishi, he says, Yisod HaChamishi, he ashor avodah zarah. L'kavona shirak loy la'avoid HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'lo avodah zarah. What does he say? By Yisod HaChamishi, shu yis'ale hu asher loy le'ovdoi u'loymo u'lefarsim gedulasoi u'mashmota. V'ein oisin kain l'ma shelamata mimenu b'mitzius. V'zeh Yisod HaChamishi hu ashor avodah zarah. So l'cheira Kabbalas Elohus means that it's royal avoid. So l'cheira, that's also a very good svara. But l'cheira from a svara, you can't be b'chayiv misa. How did the Rambam know? How do we know this? That the prelude, or that the royal avoid has a din avodah. I think this is the beginning of it, but I don't get how you wrap it up. However, it certainly has nothing to do with the ashora of lo yelachol lehim achim aponai, because that's only in of day of emunah. And if you believe there's another Elohus, like God, you violate lo yelachol lehim achim aponai, but you don't violate lo tishtachaveh. Now, I want to tell you what the element of avodah is, but I'm not 100% sure. See, all we know is it's a prelude. There's a difference between, you see, in the love of Elohim Achim Aponai, there's no Kabbalah Elohus B'chlal necessarily. You just believe that this another deity created the world or something, whatever you want to say, but there's no relationship between you and the Avodah Zarah. In the element of Kabbalas Elohus or in Eliator, you're setting up a personal relationship. It's dafka kibul olav beloha. V'omer lefonov Eliator, you're setting up a relationship between you and the Avodah Zarah. And that is certainly the prelude for avodah, and that takes you out of the purview of lo yelochem lechem aponai, because that's enough for emunah. In that this, or the machshava, that this has divine powers. But when you say Eliator kibul olaha, you're setting up a relationship. So I understand. That's the low roy lavoy. But we still don't understand that the low roy lavoy and the relationship should be enough to be called leisishtachav Elohem leiso. That is as far as I got over here with this part. You know, the Mishnah seems to say it. The Mishnah, Adosh State Mishnah, according to the Rambam, that the Mishnah said that the Kabbalah Elohus is an avodah. The question is, why should it be considered avodah without any drasha? The Rambam says the royal avodah is avodah zarah in the Pirush Mishnayis. That l'cheira is where we're standing. So l'cheira, that Kabbalah Elohus, you violate Lois Shtachvelem Lois of them. This is not like the Minchas Chinuch that said you violate Lo Yelochim Achim Apona. And it's also not like the Minchas Chinuch that says, now what's the answer to the Ramban's Kasha? You know, there's every Avodah Zorah, every Avoid to have Kabbalah Elohus. So the Minchas Chinuch is derech bizoyer. No, Kabbalah Elohus is an Amir of Me'eliato. You could be oivated, but there's no Amir of Me'eliato, and does state the Mishnah. The Minchas Chinuch that says that the only case there's no Kabbalah Elohus is Avodah derech bizoyer is very difficult. And also the Kabbalah Elohus lo shtach belohem. In Loises say, hey, that you violate Loises Shtach Velohem, Lois of them. But the Ramban is very clear that you can prohibit the Kabbalah Elohus. First of all, the Ramban Hasogis, he says, Oma lo yelach elihim achim aponai, be called Tzvor Hashamayim, the Kabbalah Elohim, v'loima le'echod mehem Eliato. Ramban Chumash in Shmos, Perichov, Posik Beis, lo yelach elihim achim aponai, v'anochoin, v'anochoin, gam lefi apshat, v'chulei, Vihi hameniya shelo yamin bi'echod mehem, v'lo yikableu olo beloha, v'lo yoyim aloi eliato. The truth is, Rashi has a limud for eliato and l'chayet teres avodah. Rashi has a hekish, not in the Gemara. Rashi, Samachom Beis and Sanhedrin, Tira Mas Kabbalah Beloha, Ve'afilu Omer Ba'almo, V'goyno Omer, Loi Eliato, the Ishkis Lezmicha, Tichsiv V'yishtachbu Loi, V'yizbuchu Loi, V'yoimu Elo Elohecho Yisrael. Kloimah. What do you mean? He says Ishkis lezvicha, that Eliato. We're going Poimeloi Eliato, the Ishkis lezvicha, the Sim, the Ishtachbuloi, the Yizbuchuloi, the Yoimu Elo Elech Yisrael. So the Hekish. It's all very nice. The Ram doesn't quote this Hekish. And even if he did, it's not clear that we would say, according to the Rambam, that you can give a chiyuv misa for a hekish. Or make it b'chal lav, we don't know that. Unless you say, das steht in the Pasuk, according to the Ram, that it's all the same. It's all avodah. Face, I don't know. So that's who we're standing over here. I think I've gone a long way, but I'm not. The question is the last step. And how do we know it's like that truth? I'll state the Mishnah, but how do we know such a thing? That let's the Mishnah learns it from the Pasuk here, that it's kilu, that it's an avodah. Okay, next. Now, if you recall, we said that according to the Rambam, the love of Lo Yilcho Elohim Achirim Alponai is really the flip end of Anoich Hashem Elokecha. It's Dova Vafucha, that one is mechuyev to believe or to know and believe that God was the deity, okay, and that the afucha, that there's no other deity, and that's where the Rambam. It's almost like all the other cases you find in Shiur Shishi, like Lo Yisas Melocha, Melucha Shabbos, Yom Kippur of the Isa of Achila, and the Mitzvas of Tzoim, Shvis, whichever way you like, all the different cases there. And this could be another case like. And that's l'chayr what the Ram says in Hilchos Yisei Torah. In Perek Aleph, Aloch Aleph, Vav and Zayin. Yisei this Yamuda Chochmos Leda Shei Shom Motzui. Shom is in Arabic because you say that it's only there, not someplace else. That's Kvira. Leda Shei Shom Motzui Rishon Vu Mamsi L'Chol Nimsa Chol Nimsa V'Chol Nimsoyim Mishemayim V'Oretz Ma Shebeneim U'Lenimsu Elo Me'Amitoso. And if you can deny, if you deny God, you deny the existence of anything, and and nothing can exist without God. V'yidiv dovazer Mitzvas shneim anoich Hashem Elokecha v'chol amal al da'atoi sheyesh shom Eloka acher chutz mizu oy v'lo yisaseh shneim lo yeh l'chol lehim achirim al ponah v'koyf v'beika shezeh oika gadol shakol tolibo. Now, this we discussed last. Now, next. Eloka zeh echod hu v'eino shnayim v'lo yesef al shnayim elo echod she'ein ki chudoi echod min achodim hanimsoyim bo'olam v'yediyas dov zeh mitzasei shneim Hashem Elokeinu Hashem echod. So, there are two things going on in the Rambam. There's the mitzasei of Anoichi, and there is a mitzvah of Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Yichu Kutshi Brichu. What I want to tell you and suggest just before I do, and l'cheira the stira to, and that's why I said that since it's Dov Afuchai, the lav is only if you believe there's something else like God. But if you believe that koichais, that a malach has koichais, that's nothing to do with Lo Yelochim Lechim Aponai, according to the Rambam. Because it's Dov Afuchai. That's why I told you the Rambam has this strange Arabic word, al-buya, whatever. I'm not sure my Arabic is whatever it is. He only has it in 3 places in all his Sforim. He has it in the Mitzvah of Anoichi, the Mitzvah Lo Yiyeh, and in Shiur Chi, where he's talking about Lo Yiyeh. What I wanted to suggest is the Rambam and the Buchim is chelik on this. And the Rambam and the Buchim's opinion is Lo yeh l'cho Elohim achirim al ponai is not Dova ba'afuchai in the mitzvah of Anoichi, but it's Dova ba'afuchai in the mitzvah of Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Yichud Hashem. In other words, it's hefech mitzvah say beis. Listen to more in the Vuchim, Chelik Beis, Perek Lamed Gimel. Elashiesh Lahem Gam Kain, Mai Makosiv, Bahabi Makomis Min Midrashos, Vuhu Betalmud, Gam Kain, Vu Omlam Anochi V'Loyeh L'Cho Mipi Hagvu Shamu. These two mitzvahs were heard from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Reitzim Bazeh. Now listen to this. Shehein Higiu Aleihem Kamo Shegiu LaMoshe Rabbeinu. V'Lo Hoyer Moshe Rabbeinu Magiyom Aleihem. They heard it straight from God. V'zeh, they understood it straight from God. Sheshtei Elu HaShloshim. What are these two shloshim for Noichi and Lo Yeh Elohim Achim Aponai? What's Loima Matzias Okel Yis'ale? That's Onoichi Hashem Elokecha. V'heyoisei Echod. What do you mean Heyoisei Echod? That Shema Yisrael wasn't doing Aseres and Dibros. So he's learning that Lo Yeh Elohim Achim Aponai that it's a lav, that there's another God. It's a problem. That's what he's saying. Omnam Yusuf Biyun Anushi, B'chol Mishi Yedei B'moifes, Mishmar Anobi or Mishmar V'lo Noidu Shnei Hashloshim O'ela Mitzad Nevuah Levad, Omru HaTeira Ato Reis L'das Ke Hashem Elokim. Mitzias Hashem and Yichuda, which is not what he's doing in Sefer HaMitzvos and in Mishnah Torah. That is point two. I think it's a very, very interesting observation. I was amazed at the diuk of the difference. But the truth is, you could have heard it either way. Now let's see. Let's now go through Mishnah. Mitzvah, mitzvah Rishona, mitzvah Loisase, Ishis Hilum Behamin, or whatever that word is. Okay. Well, of course, Lezulasai Yis'ala. Here also, he has this atakad, whether it's the truth is, there's probably both. There's elements of Amunah, because the Ram uses the same word in Mitzvah say test, not the same word. We use the word Amunah, referring to one of the mitzvahs he calls that takad. There's an element of certainly of Amunah, and l'cheira and Yediyah. And I'll tell you how I know both. Emunah, I know from mitzvah test. Second. V'hemuna bayichud Hashem in mitzvah base. He also said ataked, and here in mitzvah test he talks about the nimso atzmeinu lemisa b'dei oretz al avoso yisale v'emuna be'achdusoi, and there it says al iman, and that is certainly Amunah. So there's an element Amunah in Achdus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and there also clearly is an element of Yediyah. And how do I know that? Not of Yediyah, of daya, of understanding. Because had it not been there's an element of understanding, then the whole Mer Nevuchim and the understanding that we got from the cold Dvorim, we understood Achdus and Yichud. It doesn't make any sense unless you assume there's an element of Yediyah and understanding. So I would assume that it's both. That's my suggestion over here. Next. She's hamin ha'elohus l'zulasa yis'aleh v'amo yis'aleh yisroimim aliyachis la'amir. We discussed this, of anthropomorphism, of corporeality to God. The only question is, why is it over here? It could have been any time when it says Omo Yis'aleh. Why does it only start with Leisa said? Lo yeh lecho Elohim acherim al ponoi. Ukvar is boy b'seif makis shelav zeh mechlal sheish me'os 13 mitzvos v'om yishom sheish me'os b'13 mitzvos nemu l'Moshe b'Sinai Moshe b'Yam mitzvah rishona mitzvah say, which we explained already. Okay, next. Mitzvah shnir. He she'eshanu me'asois avodah zarah. Now here, probably it's more in Kappa claims, at least the proper translation is in Ibertiv has to be translated because it's not like that. There's no in the Judeo, it's only in Arabic. Kappa claims that it's psilim. Okay, psilim le'oved, le'he'oved, and psilim lenoi l'cheira is mitzvah dalet. So we're talking about le'he'oved. It has to be b'shas de'asiyah. It's le'oved. Comes Rav Sadi Goin and does an amazing thing. We're going back really to the first mitzvah, but you'll see why I'm doing it this way. Comes Rav Sadi Goin like this. Holy Shoina in Perichav Gimel, Amud 218. Holy Shoina, Ho'isa lases psilim utzlomim. Omroi leisase l'chol pesel l'chol tmuna. Achar kach ho'isa lahashirom ulanichom k'fi shehem, to leave them by you, kiyum avodah zarah. Omroi lo yeh l'cho Elohim achim apona. So comes Rav Sadi and turns the world upside down and says the lo yeh l'cho Elohim achirim. It's logically the opposite. Is lo sasa l'cho fes l'cho tmuna, and if you do it, lo yeh l'cho Elohim achirim apona. It's very strange. So not as an isa vasiyas avodah zarah, there's an isa kiyum lo yeh l'cho Elohim achirim apona. So in terms of the second mitzvah, like the Rambam, is an isa asiyah. But the first mitzvah has been turned upside down according to Sadi. Truth is, there is a bona fide source of Sadi going, and that is the Mechilta of Rabbi Shmuel in Parshas Yisrael, Masechta de B'chodesh Parsha Bo, Lo yeh l'cho Elohim acherim, Loma Nema, Lefi Shenema, Leisasel Chofesel Chotmuna, Ainly Elo Shelo Yase. The Isa of Leisasel Chofesel, Ainly Elo Shelo Yase. Ha'osu Ikva Minayin Shelo Yikayim. So the Mechilta is mufurish like a side guy. So now you can flip it and say, oh, since the Rambam passes like Stam Medrash Halacha, which is the Sifra and the Mechilta, because the Stam Medrash Halacha is a Pirush Makubal. So why is the Rambam not paskin and say that the Mitzvah Li'acholim Acherim is he has a Pirush that it means a different Allah? We don't find that the Matik Yeshmut such this. So here, I'll tell you one thing. The best and simplest way is say the Rambam here is like the Ramban. The Rambam says there's a Machukas Tanoim in the interpretation, Lo Yelachol Imachem Apona. And the Mechilta is going according to Shitz Rabbi Yossi. And we don't pass Rabbi Yossi. We pass the Tanakam. The Ramban in Loisa Sehei, Hine Ladas Rabbi Yossi, Lo Yelachol Elihim, Lo Yelachol Hashora Bo'ise Hatzlomin. Bu Koloshen, V'nach Lo Yelach. Shuhu Bekinyan Anachosim, having a kiyum, Vudas HaBraisa Shnuyim Mechilta, Kafi Mashmo. And this is the Mechilta which I read. Ladas Tanakama in Sifra. The Machogas Tanakama B'Yesi in Sifra. But in the Mechilta, it's Tam Tana like Rabbi Yossi. Ladas Tanakama ain't okay. Avoyia Mania Mehoides or Elohus Luzulasa. Yis'ala Miloshin Vohoya Hashem Leiloki. So it means to deify. So here, the Ramban is learning the Elohim Achim Aponai like the Rambam, but he flips it and he learns that it's Isav with the Zohar, and according to the Rambam, it's an separate Isa in those days. V'halocha hi ketana kama. The Ramban does this not only here in Sefer Mitzvos, but does this in Chumash, in Yaseres Adibus, Shmois, Perechov, Posik Beis, Lefi Daiti, She'elocha Kedivrei Zeis HaPraisa, K'divrei Shnuya, Shekach Shnuya B'Sifra, V'Elohim Asechel Loisasa Lochem, Yochel Yasu Lochem Acherim, Tamaloimo Lo Lochem, Ein Li Elo Lochem, Yochel Yasu Achem, Tamaloimo Loisasa Lo Lochem Lo Lochem. Mikan Omrois Avodah V'Chulei, and it says, Rabbi Yossi Oimer Sholosh. Mishum, if you do avodah, you make avodah zola atzmo, you violate three laws. Mishum loisasu, mishum lo lochem, or mishum lo yiyeh, because you violate kiyum. Harei Rabbi Yossi yochid b'mokom rabim, who oimer lo yeh locho ashor l'mekayim avodah zola. Well, the divrei Tanakama ain't okay. And l'cheira, next, l'cheira, even though we know according to the Rambam that there's no machlekes in the Pirush Makubal, so and Stam Mechilta is a Pirush Makubal. I would have said it's a double portion that this is portion of Medrash. It's not kilu. Pshat and Pasuk, because it's not mistaber to flip the Pasuk upside down and say that the Lo Yelachol Lehim Acherim is only after you violate the law of Lo Yisas L'Chol Pesach, which hasn't been said yet. And secondly, the Rambam learned that since the Makor of Minyan HaMitzvos is the memory of Simloi, and in the memory of Simloi, there were two mitzvahs, Shishoma Pia Gevura. And the Pshade Shoma Pia Gevura is the idea, the daya. So it must be Lo Yelach Olim Echim, is not Stam Kiyum Avodah Zorah, it's the daya that there's another divinity. So that's why the Ram doesn't pass it Rabbi Yossi, and he doesn't pass it upside. But however, in terms of the Asiyas Pesel, the Rambam of Sadia are here the same. She's here no me'aseis avodazara le'oved, or pes psilim lo'he'oved. Comes the Rambam and says, in this case, the ein chiluk bein shiasem biyodoi o shiyitzave la'aseisa. So he's a big chiddush that even if he doesn't do it himself, he tells someone else to make it. He also avoids the lav who amo yisale loisasa l'chol pesel l'chol fesel l'chol tmuna. Umishav alav there, Chay Malchus, goitzeloi marasiyis avodizoro o she'asa loizuasa b'mitzvos. V'afal pisha le'ovaroisa. It's mamash pella. He's Chay Malchus if he tells someone to do the avodah zarah, to make the avodah zarah. He didn't do anything. He's Chay Malchus. The question is, so Chinuch asks, is ein shlichet v'aravera? And I would go even further, that I don't know if it's even b'chlal shlayach shlichus, because it says over here, oy she'asa b'mitzvasai, and in the kapach, in his translation, doesn't say also loy b'mitzvasai, he's also mitzvasai, bikshasai she'asa loy. I just have to check this out, but my impression, even if there would be shlichus, or in general shlichus is not a request. Shlichus is the tzivur. And the Rambam's mashma that even if that's the translation, that even request would be enough over here. So the Minchas Chinuch, because of this, is mechadesh that the Isa is to be goyim the Asiyah. And l'cheira, even if you say it's bakosha, that's considered enough to be a goyim. Minchas Chinuch is in mitzvah chav zayin, or is aleph, v'das Rambam, the mevur b'chulei. The gam im mitzave la'asa is oiver b'lav zeh taharigo masiyah. V'tira midas Rambam di mitzave le'acher eno mitam shlichus chade de kaim lein shlichut ba'avera v'o de lechiluk bein im mitzave Yisrael u'ba shlichus or legoy le'akum u'la'ba shlichus klal ki yadu b'shas kochen zeh kosev he came who the idea sivu kiven the goyim lezeh oiver b'lav u'lo shaykh l'chalik b'shlichus bein avera rak imo avera olav v'tzorich lovoy im oise ayidei shliach mitam shluchus shalom kamoiser. Oz beinon ba'oisen d'lav b'nei shlichus heim does be here the mitzvah is the isa is to be good, so it doesn't make a difference. Avomad ateo osra lasay de acherim kiven the who begramasay im kein loibanu olav mitam shein shlichut va'aveir or shluchus shalom kamoiser rak. Who go for us the Torah? Doesn't make a difference. Akum chereshed v'kotnus. Here, it's a little difficult, the whole thing, that the Isis Groma is the Gemara in Shabbos. I think it's Kuf Chof or an Aleph. Whenever the Torah says a Lashon Asiyah, it means grom is mutter. And here it's an amazing thing that the Torah says loisasa l'chofeso and groma is awesome. It's a very odd thing. The question you have to ask yourself also is you mitzvah someone to make the avodah zarah. So l'chera, he has to make it, because if he doesn't make it, l'chera, nothing happened. Because the isa is aseis avodah zarah le'oved, and if it wasn't made, he just mavakesh, nothing happened. Correct? It's only because he made it. And let's say it stays by the person who made it. It never gets to the person who mitzvah. So we don't know anything here. As you say, le'oved, unless it gets to him, it's not le'oved. Ches, I don't know. So Lamaisa is, if you look in Mitzvah Gimel, it says V'shom Nema, and he says we're in Mitzvah Beis, right? So he says Ha'oise Avodah Zarah la'atzmoi is over on two levels. Ve'oive gamkein shekona Avodah Zarah. It's probably better V'shava etzloi, and shekona Avodah Zarah v'shava etzloi. V'afilu osaloi zulasoi. K'moi shekodam b'mitzvah hashenis. We have to understand this. What does it mean, shekona avodah zarah v'shava etzloi? Is this part of the definition of mitzvah beis, mitzvah shnia, the mitzvah which we're dealing now? So it's a little odd that he mentions it in Mishnah Gimel as a side point about Mishnah Beis. So we have to understand what this lav is, what kona etzloi is, the maisa, the kinyan, and what would be if he stam buys an avodah zarah. That's very odd. Here you say shekona avodah zarah v'shava etzloi, but on the other hand, he says the lav is asiyah. So we'll have to, this is Hashem, we'll have to pick up next week and go through what mitzvah gimel is, and Elohei Masech Eloisas Elochem, the Sifra. Look at the Sifra carefully, because a priori looking at the Sifra, the Ram quotes, his mamish says just the opposite, and the Ramban quotes the Sifra. It's a lav of Lo Elochem, and how the Rambam pulls out that that's a lav of Lasses Chol Pesach, Chol Tmuna. We'll have to understand. Amidst Hashem, we'll pick this up next week and try to finish some of this off. Have a nice week. That's all.